And today is going to be actually a shorter call than the last two days. It's only supposed to be a couple hours. So we'll have some time at the end for open-ended questions, but we really should be able to kind of fly through it. And I'm not going to be jumping screens the whole time. This one is just the main PowerPoint, and there's a data deck that I sent you guys. It's only like 3 slides. So welcome back. In this lab, we're going to take a practice run at what an office visit should look like. And when we think of what we've been talking about protecting role clarity, about being the MTL that really runs the office of the TL that runs the office, this is also talking about the office visits you guys will be doing, right? I want you to think of that staying out of the weeds, really looking at your home-based planning and the data to figure out what you're planning your visits around, and then going in and making the time worth it that you're there. So that's really what today's about, and we'll have some conversation around it. So this course is designed to walk learners through a scheduled support visit. We'll look at data, we'll look at opportunities. It's very similar to yesterday's presentation where we're going to look at some stuff and talk on an open forum here about things that we should be doing or seeing. And we're going to coach a ATL around some opportunities. Okay, so before we dive in, we're going to go visit Connie today. It's a kind of like a virtual visit that we're all doing together. Connie is new to H&R Block, and we're scheduled to visit her today. So to prepare for her support visit, we need to anticipate what areas the office needs help with. So I put it in chat, and I also sent it out an email, a little link that says Leadership Lab Data Pack, I believe is what it's called. So if you go in the chat and open it, you'll be able to see, and there's just some information there. So I'm going to give everyone just a couple minutes to look over just that first section, that first page. Pull it up here really quick. I'll share it on my screen too, that way in case you don't have it. But we're going to give it a couple minutes, and it's just a copy of a comm board. And if you could just take a look at the comm board and write down some notes to yourself of what you see that are opportunities, what your main thoughts are as you look at that comm board. And then after a couple minutes, we will dig in and see what we see. Oh, 1 second. It helps if it was still there. 1 second. Here we go. All right, so we'll give it till 9:05, 2 minutes, just if everyone could just take a moment to look at it a little bit and see what opportunities we see here. And then we'll discuss.
Tyler, what does it say above these boxes? The print is so small on my computer, I can't read them.
Yeah, sure. So the top left says office return goal. So the return goal, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit here too. Might help.
Much better, thanks.
Yep. And I'll scroll down in a minute after you can see what that says. So that's the top half, and then this is the bottom. All right. With that, now that everyone's had a chance to look at it. Okay, so which areas come to mind that we need to support Connie during this visit? What do you guys see from looking at what we just looked at, where she may need support in her office?
The whole office.
Exactly. What was our motto last year? Like, if we're not top 10, what are we doing? Right? If you're not first, you're last. So
Yeah,
what? Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Yeah. So what specifically are her biggest opportunities that we want to focus on?
She's off pace and at the same time has schedule readiness issues. So those two things are probably hand in hand, looking at how to fill the bucket and what opportunities she does to increase her capacity or move appointments forward.
Yep, exactly. So schedule readiness is a big one. I see Joy said whip in the comments, definitely. What else jumps out to you as a big red flag?
The virtual components.
Yep, virtual at 18%. Definitely some opportunities. Does Connie need help with inbound call quality? Do we know?
Looking
It's
at
not
this
showing on this
report, she
report.
probably does.
But both of you are right. Yeah. So the inbound call quality is one of the only things not on the ComBoard report that we need to pull separately before we go in, and that's going to be in the hub. So that was kind of a quick trick question, but we need to make sure that we pull that before we go in. So this is during your planning right before the office visit. What steps would you take to be able to prepare before you go into this office to do a deeper dive with her? What comes to mind, right? We know she has schedule readiness issues. We know she has service quality issues. We know she has virtual issues, WIP issues. And because of all of that, she's not hitting her client numbers and her ranking. So what would we look at before we go in so we know what we're talking about? Love it. Deborah said make sure she has time set aside for the visit. Great point. What else could you do to prepare?
For the schedule readiness, dig into the capacity management and also into appointment manager to see if there's some opportunities over the next week to 2 weeks to get back on track.
Absolutely love it. Yeah, really looking and conducting Daisy on her office so that when you come down into the office and do a sit down with her, you can coach the coach and make sure she understands Daisy and show her the opportunities that she has. Exactly. What else do we
Another,
need?
I was going to say another thing for that low hanging fruit to get some, and I'm sorry, I said stepped aside for that work in progress. See if we have some low hanging fruit to help convert those into some virtual opportunities.
Yeah, exactly. Reviewing WorkCenter dashboard with them, going through WorkCenter and asking about some of the notes, right? Making sure that they understand where they need to be with WorkCenter. If they constantly have low WIP like this, try going through that checklist with them that we went over on our first skills call that goes through how to work WIP. Could totally help them get there.
And also when you're looking at the appointment manager, look to see if you have new clients booked. Since she's down, they're doing great on service quality, but they're down on new clients. So take that opportunity to do some observations.
Exactly. Love it. So while you are completing your review and getting ready for your visit, you get this recap message from corporate saying that she's done her daily horizons. So this will be the email that you get whenever your ATLs complete their daily horizons and say how they're doing. So Connie's indicated her #1 focus today should be virtual. Can you guys see on the screen? Is it big enough for you? Okay. Just want to make sure. So she says her number one focus today should be virtual. Do we agree with that?
No, she should be concentrating on appointments and scheduling.
Completely agree. You have to have the people there first, right? We want to make sure we have the people, the schedule ready, and that we can handle traffic before anything else. We should be more concerned about schedules, but maybe appointment manager will tell a different story. So let's go through each topic here. So she said they've committed to taking the following actions: to listen to recorded calls today unless we can determine why virtual is so low. When asked about how much time, they said 210. And when asked on how to assess their office on each topic, this is what they said. So schedule readiness, she says, I need to make a heavy investment to correct some time items I discovered. Do we agree with that statement? Is she correct around schedule readiness that she needs to make some heavy investments to fix some issues?
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly. Virtual. She said, I have a few items that I need to address and need to dedicate some time to this. How do we feel about that?
Not a priority right at the moment.
Bingo. She's saying this is her number one focus, but then lower down, she's saying she only has a few items to fix, right? So we need to help her refocus. Sorry, boss is calling me. I'll tell him I'll call. So we need to make sure that she can help reprioritize here, right? WIP review. My office is in great shape. I do not need to spend any additional time in this space. How do we feel about that?
Boo.
No, there's some opportunity
No.
there.
Hard disagree, right? So if we know we're going into this office, we know that we really need to dig in on virtual and make sure that this person understands it. So far, what I'm seeing is, okay, we really need to focus on schedule readiness. We need to kind of help her shift her focus to what the real priorities are, and we need to make sure she knows how to really work with and what good looks like. Service quality. My office is in great shape. I don't need to spend any additional time here. How do we feel about that?
She's spot on.
For right now, she is great.
Yeah, she is great on it. I love what Joy said in the chat about how we need to give some recognition because they're doing so well. Yeah. Can't agree more with that. ICQ, amount call quality. My office is in great shape. I don't need to spend any additional time here. So we don't have data there, right? So it's an area we could invest in to research or review while on the visit. But my advice, right? You want to focus on the biggest things. Something that I always say, and I know everybody has on my team has probably heard before. It's like you're holding a plate, right? And there's a constant stream of marbles falling on that plate, and you're trying not to let them fall. And corporate is going to keep spilling marbles on that plate. I'm going to keep sending you emails and texts that are going to keep falling on that plate. Don't let the big important marbles fall off, right? Some of the small ones are going to, and that's okay. The big marbles, right, are the schedule readiness, the SOPs, the important stuff. I probably would only recommend picking a couple big marbles each visit that you really want to go after. Based off of how important they are, I probably focus on the schedule readiness piece and your WIP, right? Because if you nail those two, you're going to have a really strong office. So I don't know if I go into listening to recorded calls and freaking out about phone quality when we have such two big issues. Does that make sense to everybody? You want to make it very clear and simple and focused on just a few items. Because if you come in and you go over 15 things and give her action items for each SOP and follow-ups for everything, what you end up is with it. Exactly. She's gonna be overwhelmed and she might quit. or it's just like, oh my God, this is so much, and she's too spread thin and she executes everything at 50%, and it's just not a good situation. Small business, same situation. We don't have the data. It's an area we could invest in now and research it while we're on the visit.
Tyler?
Yes.
I know we're not required to do this thing, the daily horizons, but wouldn't it be more beneficial to list those items that they need to work on? She says, I have a few items they need to work on. Wouldn't it be better to list them? That way you would have that concrete information in front of you to remind you what you need to take care of.
Yeah, exactly. And follow-up is such an important piece of management. I think a lot of times it gets overlooked, right? Think about when you do these visits as an MTL or when your MTL visits you if you're an ATL. What we should really be doing here is looking at the data, figuring out where the opportunities are, like in this case, appointment manager, schedule readiness, and WIP, right? Then when we go in, we validate those behaviors that are missing with the leadership or with the people in the office. And then we give follow-up dates on how we're going to go back and look at that. So something like, hey, next week we'll once have a Teams call and we'll go over your schedule readiness on appointment manager together, and we'll look at the progress that you've had on WIP. Something that simple can go a huge way with your people. So being very specific and giving deadlines goes a huge way for sure.
Hey, Tyler,
So
on
there's-
the comm
Yep.
report, do they have plans to add those two back to it, the small business and the inbound quality?
I don't know, to be honest. A lot of that stuff comes out kind of like right as tax season starting. Even if it's not there, let's make sure we put it on there and have conversation around it, right? As long as you stay focused on that scorecard that we talked about a couple times that has small business on there, I think you'll be able to win, because it's the company's #1 initiative. It's supposed to drive the most dollar amount of anything else. So if you're not tracking the company's #1 initiative, then what are you doing, right? So we'll talk about it as it comes out, and we'll show what a perfect comm board looks like before the tax season starts. I'm getting one together with Dan, so you'll know exactly what should be covered, if that makes sense. So there's more to a visit than just the numbers and the people piece too. What do we look for operationally? When you park your vehicle and you're walking towards the office, what are you guys looking for?
We want to
What
make
does it
sure
look like?
the match and that the front of the office is crisp, clean, and clutter-free. So if there's any trash on the floor, it's picked up. The front door area swept. Just making sure it's presentable as you're approaching.
Yep, I love that. I also like what Joy's saying, hour signs, visibility, clean. Is it clear that we're open, right? Because if you think of our offices, we aren't open all year round, right? You can order signage, you can order stuff so that you scream open so your people know. So when you drive up to your office, if you don't have a bunch of yard signs, if you don't have balloons, if you don't have your open sign on in January, then people might not even know that you're open. So really, really important to have all that information. Really important also to have an hour sign that's correct, because I know we change hours all the time, and a phone number on there that they can contact if they can't get a hold of somebody, right? Our ability to capture these clients goes a long way to helping our goals for sure. So when we walk into the lobby, what's the first thing that we should do? It's actually on the slide, so it's kind of an easy answer.
Greet your people. Say hi.
Exactly. It's all about recognition, giving high fives, saying hi to people, letting them know that you're there. In my opinion, the most influential thing a leader can do is walk in the front door. Walking in, talking to everybody, letting them know you're there. You should talk to everybody before you leave the office. Recognition, reinforcement. Upon arriving, you want to greet each person, putting their mind at ease and letting them know you're here to help and support. Has anyone heard the saying, trust but verify? Has anyone heard that before? It's a very common retail saying. So
Yes.
the work culture has changed. We're changing that sentence. So I want you to erase that sentence from your vocabulary, from your bank of go-to sayings. And this is coming from our CEO who said this. He wants to go from trust but verify to trust and support. Does that make sense? If you have someone that's working for you, don't constantly berate them and fire them. Build them up, support them, and help them get to where they need to be. So I'm going to tell you a story really quick, kind of off the chain of what we're talking about. But I think I've told my people about this a couple times. There's two types of employees, right? You have the rock employee and then the plant employee. And I think I've shared this with my team before. You're constantly if you're doing a good job as a leader, you're constantly pouring out advice, coaching, helping people grow. If you're putting a constant flow of water on a rock, it's just going to sit there and not do anything. If you're pouring constant water support and flow on top of a flower, it's going to bloom and grow and get bigger and bigger, right? Your job not only is to help them grow and develop and get bigger, but also to notice if one of your employees is a rock. And if you do have a rock employee, stop wasting your time growing and supporting them and get a new person in there that can help you grow, if that makes sense. People is the first part of everything we do. It's people, process, follow-up, results. That's how you inspire people. If you don't have the right people, that's your number one thing. If you have an ATL right now that isn't the right person for the tax season, it's better to have open, candid conversations now than to go into the tax season and fail. If you have a CSP that isn't going to help you get what you don't need accomplished, they're not going to help you push virtual. Even if they've been here for 20 years, maybe it's time to have a conversation around it with some radical candor to fix the base issue before it becomes a bigger issue, right? So once you have that right person, then it goes into trust and support, and it's all about supporting them, building them up, helping them grow. So it's that trust and support piece. So back to the slide. What consequences might it cause if we as a leader come into the office on the phone and go straight to the back without talking to anybody? What kind of message does that send?
You don't have time
Negative.
for the people you're supporting.
Yeah,
Exactly.
very negative effects.
Exactly. So my opinion, and what I would suggest that everyone does, is try to talk to everyone at each office visit. And I know that can be hard, especially during peak when we have a bunch of people helping with each client, but do try to make an effort to talk to everybody. Try to make an effort to give that supportive tone of how can I help you? What can I do for you? It'll go a really long way and help get buy-in from your people for sure. I love that Barb said you can still touch the desk, which I absolutely agree with. So comm board, let's take a moment, right? We know, say we walk into Connie's office, we did some catch up time, we talked to everybody at the front, we walked to the back with Connie. It's 11 a.m. and this is what the client growth comm board looks like. How do we feel about that?
If there's more than 2 people in the office, somebody should use the comm board for this thing.
That's
I mean, if they've got 50 clients in there at 11 o'clock in the morning, I could be a little lenient about this comm board.
So really, we want to make sure that they're communicating with their people. And this is a clear indicator of where they should be. And Joy's right on track there. That at least yesterday's numbers should be on there. When was the last time it's been updated? If you're not using something, take it down. But the client growth board it's one of the things that corporate does that's mandatory that we're supposed to update every day. And it's really, we're supposed to be using it to communicate with people. So what would our feedback be for Connie around the client growth board? You walk in, it's empty, or it's got yesterday or the day before's results there. What does that conversation with Connie look like?
Just go over the importance of doing the board and what the purpose of the board is. So the purpose of the board is to let everybody know where they are. The tax pros, and I know for my tax pros, get really invested in the comm board. And so if you're not doing the comm board, you're not communicating with your people. You might be talking to them, but are you having your huddle? Are you giving them the information they need to make the decisions they need to make everyone reach the goal that we want to get to?
Yep, I absolutely like it. And Joyce said in the chat too, I'd ask why it wasn't being utilized, right? Using those open-ended questions is great. So the last slide we talked about people. This is where it goes into process. If we don't have processes in place for our people to follow, then it's much harder for our people to improve and grow things. If your people don't know what the goal they're trying to hit is, it's going to be very difficult for them, and it's going to be the morale is going to be down, and it's just not a good situation. But if I'm Tyler the tax pro and I come into the office and on the comm board, it's like, hey, Tyler, great job on this survey. You have to work this many WIP. This is what's going on. I'm like, all right, I feel energized. I know what's going on. And I feel even more so if my office leader walks me over there and talks me through some of the stuff on there, right? It's just a huge differentiator. So let's take a moment. Let's take a moment to go through what we would write on this COM board and what a good COM board looks like. So this one has all the pre-populated answers here for office ranking, where they trend, all of the information. What would we write under each one of these things? And we'll just go one by one and make a conversation, right? So if we're doing work in progress, we know it's a huge opportunity. What's an example of something you put under work in progress as office leader?
So I would start with a reminder to go straight to paid. And then you can put each person's progress. So who has how many works in progress and what status they're in.
I love it. Yep, that's a best practice that Dan and the regional team use as well, is putting each person in the office, how many whips they have. You know, you can put a reminder about code 4 on there. What else? What else would you guys put under whip?
Any trends that you're seeing?
Like
so if
what?
you're seeing that we're having more missing information, then I would look at what's some of the tips for where do you get the missing information resolved? Or if it's mostly where we're waiting on clients, give some tips or some encouragement to how to reach out to your client that day. That type of thing.
Yeah.
Look at the trends to dictate what you want.
Absolutely. Some recognition too.
I would put
What was
and
that?
I would put a reminder to have good notes,
Mm-hmm.
good hold notes, so that anybody can go in and contact that client.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's move to schedule readiness. We know that's a big opportunity in this office. What kind of things would we put there?
So if you have hours not covered by anyone that you need covered, a request for having a request of the exact dates and times you need covered.
Yep, I like it. Joy said breaking down Daisy. I like that too.
And then
Yellow.
if you have someone volunteer for extra time, if you have someone volunteer for extra time, thanking them on the board so everybody sees it.
Love it. Absolutely love it. What about inbound phone quality? What would we say there? And now the new reporting for this year isn't out yet, but really it's just going to show our overall sentiment. That's the main thing I think we're tracking for it. What's something that we could discuss there?
Reminder
Okay.
to set the appointments. The goal of the inbound quality is to walk away with a closed appointment.
Exactly. And in the PowerPoint that we went through, I think it was yesterday, where it breaks down that new inbound phone and how it's ranked and scored. My guess is we'll probably put that under this category as well. And then we can maybe put some recognition there. Really, what I would say is if she's got, if she's trending down pretty badly and appointments made, remember we make like 80 to 85% of our appointments over the phone. So it could really be somewhere to drill in with her and do some observing. Think of the watching TV thing we were talking about the other day. A lot of your time should be just spent watching and coaching for sure. Service quality, she's doing great. So what do you guys think here?
Recognition.
Exactly. If you guys want to do like I said, service quality is my most important thing in my mind. The feedback that I heard around the Texas Hold'em thing was that it was fun last year, but didn't really work well in the offices. If you want to take your Texas Hold'em thing down, you can. If you want to leave it up, you can. It's totally your call. My thought is if you want to do just like a bulletin board where you print out the 5-star surveys and highlight their name and stick them up or something like that and bring recognition to them, I'm all for that. But anything you can do for recognition around service quality being our #1 focus in our districts would be fantastic. Oh, Barb said asking for what they are doing to get a high score on SQ. I love that. Dial in on what's working. It's their win. I like it. What else? What's the district strategy around service quality?
Was your service excellent today?
Yep, let's throw it on the boards. It should be on all our boards under service quality so they know what our strategy is. Anything else on service quality?
Reminder to ask for the surveys and share what you would like to have as your score. Ask for those 5s.
Love it. And lastly, virtual. What do we put on virtual?
Well, you put everybody's score. A reminder that virtual is one of the company's big focuses, and that we need to get to 40%. How to get there? So reminders that you can send when you're setting the appointment. You can send the digital drop-off information. Reminders that, you know, if someone's at your desk, send them the invite to upload a document while they're sitting there at the desk. Just all the little tips and tricks that you can use to make every return a virtual return.
Yep, love it. Any other thoughts?
We just definitely need to be consistent in our message from day one.
I like it. So before I wrap up on COM board, any other thoughts or anything else you guys add to your COM board or anything else you guys like to see on your COM boards? Okay, so final thought on COM board from me. It goes back to that action items. When you have somebody coming into the office, we should really be taking a moment to talk about the things that are on the COM board and give them concrete things to do when they're in the office. And it should be very situational to that person, right? Hey, this is the whip you have today. This is what's going on with it and what I need you to accomplish. Here's where your SQ is and what I need you to move on it today and how many more surveys I need you to get. Here's where your virtual score is and what I need from you. And then schedule readiness. Look, I need these 2 shifts filled. Can you open? Can you stay an extra hour late today? You know, having those conversations around each of the SOPs and giving them clear direction and expectations will go a huge way to set your office up right for the day. So our COM board looks great, but it's only as good as the information it shares. We covered it in training, and the power of the COM board actually takes place during the huddle. So I know some people do huddles, some people do one-on-one conversations with their tax pros. I'm just going to open this up for conversations. What kind of huddle conversations do you guys have in your offices during the tax season? I'd love to hear some sound bites. Barb says one-on-one.
Yeah, I do more one-on-ones because it's easier to get the individual data to that person to where they need to be. You tailor it for that person. And then you do the one-on-ones, and then this way you also hit everyone as they come in. We're not like traditional retail where everybody comes in at one batch comes in at 9 and the next batch comes in at 5. We have, depending on the flow of your office, you might have one person in at 9, one person in at 11. And if you're waiting for them to do a huddle, you want to hit them as they come in the door. It's easier to meet with your people that way.
Love it. Yeah, I see a lot of people in the chat too saying that they do one-on-ones. Something I'd recommend if you're a fan of one-on-ones and doing it that way, just look up situational leadership on YouTube. There are a ton of great resources that talk about the different type of leadership you need to do for different people. Because if you have someone who's been a tax pro for 40 years that knows all of our systems, that coaching conversation is very different from a first year who doesn't know the situation. And then you also have people who are very bought in and want to do well. And then you have people who are just not really concerned about the performance of the office and just there. And like each of those conversations can look differently, and there's some great resources out there for it. Joy said one-on-ones, but also send out weekly emails where the office is in each category in the scorecard. I love that. Sometimes a group can really nurture some partnerships. Totally agree, Debbie. So really, I think there needs to be this mix of one-on-one communication and group communication to really cultivate the best result, right? One thing I would really think about this year is the IPP. That can really drive your group together because they bonus off of if the whole district or whole office hits the number. So you can leverage that to have a conversation on your COM board. I would probably put that on the COM board somewhere, like how many more returns to go to hit bonus level, stuff like that. Really want to make sure that your people are all aligned about it. Stephanie said she sends out an email every day also. I love that. One thing I would say with that is make sure they're being read and the emails are being impactful. I think I shared it. I don't know if I shared it with this team or not. But I'm mentoring a couple of my peers, and one of them, we had a one-on-one call, and he was really excited about this email that he's sending out every day. And then as a DGM, you can see what percentage of people read it, not who, but just a percentage. And he had sent out this email like 2 weeks ago. He was really excited about it. And we opened it, and of his like 200 people, less than 5 people read it. So think about that, right? You got to be impactful with the conversations and the emails you're sending. Ask people questions about the emails. Ask people questions about your communication just to verify that it's actually being impactful. And don't send a million emails a day. Go into your email and look in your sent folder and look at how many emails you sent and think about how many of them are actually being read by your team for sure.
Another thing, Taylor, is you figure out your people's communication styles. So
Yep.
I know I had one office where I would send the email and I knew one person read the email, but they shared the information with the entire office.
Yep, exactly. Joy, I think you just hit it right on the head. It's really about an ongoing conversation with your whole staff and building those relationships. I love that. I love that Susan's using Teams. Fantastic. Really, we just want to have that communication going. If you don't have a text group with each of your offices, highly recommend to make one. So we're in the office. We go back to the comm board. We look at the comm board with Connie. We talk to everybody in the office. Now we're going to drill into some other things, right? So there's 2 things I recommend you look at each office visit, no matter what. And if you look at these 2 things, I promise you, you'll have a good year if you constantly coach around them and focus on the best behaviors. Any guesses to what those 2 things are that we want to look at every office visit?
Appointment manager is one.
Yep. Appointment manager. What's the other thing that we should look at every office visit? Work center. If you look at work center and you look at appointment manager, every visit you'll have a great year. That being said, you can pull appointment manager before you go to the office. If it looks fantastic, there's no reason to dive in with the leader, right? Unless you see some opportunities. But those 2 things are the biggest SOPs that'll really drive results for you. So when you're in the office or before the office, you want to look at appointment manager and coach to any opportunities with Connie. Also, just throwing it out there, think of how this visit's going for Connie, right? Man, she missed on her priorities and you had to reset her on where her focus was. And then you told her that, oh man, you didn't do the comm board. Connie's probably not feeling great right now. So you need to take that into consideration and maybe lighten up a little bit and go a little easier on the rest of the visit to keep her engaged, because this is really all about helping her grow if we're trying to keep her. And then also you want to do a deep dive on Work Center. Usually the way that I do it is, and the way I recommend you do it, trying to grow your people, have them present to you Work Center, have them coach to you, show you appointment manager, so you can see what they see. So you can see what they think good looks like, see through their lens what they're missing. If you just talk the whole time and you're doing they should do like 80% of the talking. You should do like 20% of the talking. You know, a lot of what you should be doing should be praising and then coaching those critical moments and making sure that they walk away with some clear takeaways and action points. So there's an office visit form, and I will send it out in the link after this call. And this is different than the things that we've talked about before. I would like you guys to fill this out when you do an office visit. I'm not going to mandate how often you have to do office visits, but it's just a general form asking what you saw on the visit, what your main takeaways were, what action items you want the person to do. And you don't even necessarily need to share that with the ATL that you're doing it. It's just so I can see that you're in an office and kind of what you're looking at. My ask is, and this, so just the MTLs would have to fill this out. And then my ask is that with that ATL or with that leader or with that office, or say your TL with your office, the people in your office, that it's just very clear that everyone has action items of like 1 to 3 things to focus on when you're going to follow up in the expected results. So for example, say I go into Marianne's office and great visit, everything looks fantastic, but Work Center's a mess, right? I could be like, hey, you have this many leadership actions, this many holds. Let's take a look at it next week after you clean it up some, and we'll see where you are and have a conversation. and then you can go in and drill into it next week. Usually I recommend to put like a reminder on your calendar. That way it's there and you can remember to follow up. Just follow up is a huge piece of how we can really follow up with our people and make sure that they're executing where they need to be. And that's our call. The last thing on here is to create a Teams meeting and Teams. So because they realize that a lot of people struggle with that. So I'm just going to show that really quick and then we'll open it up to questions and wrap the call. So while I'm pulling this up, any thoughts on the content so far? Any questions around today's skills call and all the stuff that we went through? No?
It was just a good idea where you suggested putting the district goal on the COM board as well, because we're all working towards the same goal.
Yep, I think it's a great idea, and I'm going to continue. I don't know if you guys remember, but for my team where it was putting in the chat like that percentage bar and where we are for the month, I'll continue to do that. And actually, because we're at the beginning of this month, today I plan to send out where everyone was for last month and just some recognition, and then what our goal is for this month for returns, just so everyone knows where we are. So Teams, when you go into Outlook, right, and yours may look a little bit different because yours is 365. Actually, I might have one of you do it because you guys have a different Teams to me. Does anyone have? Can anyone share how to make a Teams meeting on theirs? Just because I know our Outlook calendars look a little bit different. Or if anyone can share the screen, I can walk them through it as well.
You can use mine. I'm at the office.
Awesome. Can you share your screen and we'll show just a couple things real quick. Thank you, Steve.
All right, here I am.
All right.
Tell me what to do.
Not a problem. So this is Teams. So I recommend using Outlook because Outlook will have more stuff in it than just Teams. So go to your actual email. It looks like it's there on the top in the middle.
What is this?
Where it says your name. Just click on that.
I can't see it because of the bar right here. What is this?
Oh, you might have to move the bar. There you go. That'll work too. Now you can make a big screen again. Awesome. All right. On the left, you should have a calendar option. Yep, right there. So calendar and Teams are tied together. So anything you do in Outlook will show up in Teams, but you'll have more on your Outlook. So let's say for the 9th there where you don't have anything, let's make a call there. So you want to have a call with your team, a Teams call with your team. So you'd click there, and then on the top bar, you see where it says Teams call. Yep, or you can just double click like you did. Easy way to do it. So you type whatever you want to call it. You put the times, the dates, where it says invite required attendees, you type whoever's name you want there. Whoever you want to attend, and it'll automatically invite them. You can just invite me and Steve so everyone can see it. And then you can, it'll suggest times based off of when they don't have a call. So evidently, I probably have calls every time after 9 a.m. that day, but you can pick a time and date, and then there's a little bar on the bottom that says Teams meeting. And if you click that button, now it's a Teams meeting. There'll be a link attached to it where everyone can join like this. If you don't do that, it's just an in-person meeting and you can pick where to put it, or you can put a placeholder. You can add any description you want and you can send. Anyone's name you put in there will get that meeting. It'll be on your Outlook calendar, their Outlook calendar. It's just an easy way to do it.
Okay.
And that'll allow you to set up any calls for your teams. I just recommend that you use all the tools available to you, right? You can use Teams calls, and this will help your team get used to virtual. Feel free to call over the phone and ask for stuff. Feel free to show up in person. It's really that mix of however you can lead most effectively to get the best results. So that's Teams. There's a video that I've sent out to everybody that I'll find and resend with the email. I'm gonna take a note real quick. I'll resend with the email where there's a DGM who went in detail on how to change color on this, how to do all sorts of life planning stuff around it. And I'll include that video link so you can watch that as well. It's about work-life balance. I know some of our team was on it. if you're also struggling with work-life balance, it's a great call to watch as well because it goes in detail. Thank you for sharing, Steve. Really appreciate it.
Not a problem.
So with that, we will wrap up here in, oh, sorry. We will wrap up here. Any questions, any thoughts, anything on anybody's mind related to the call, related to anything else, anything I can help with while we're all in one spot? Okay. One thing that I just wanted to put on everybody's radar, usually we have 2 or 3 months for skills for tax pros to finish to get their ready to serve. This year they started the first of this month, they have till the end of this month. They are used to having a lot more runway. So my ask is send out communication to your team to tell them to do their skills. Starting the end of this week, because we want to give them a couple days to start. Probably Friday, I'm going to start sending email communication to you guys of where your people are with skills training, so you can see who's left, who needs to do training, and it'll be very clear. And I'll send that to both teams so everyone knows where they are. I'll start sending that out this Friday. But just keep that in mind. Keep on top of that, because what happens is if they don't finish that, they can't work. So your tax pros will end up being CSPs that'll really hurt you. Also, last thing I wanted to give huge recognition for CE completion for both of these teams. Last season, the company just fired over 1,100 some employees for not finishing their CEs. Both of these teams got everybody across the line that they needed to, and it's really great job. So last year, I know it was a big struggle. This year, we were done months ahead of time, and I really appreciate all the hard work everyone put behind that. So great job, everybody. All right, if you need me, call me. Otherwise, I'll talk to you guys later, and then I'll talk to that. This is our last skills call this week. I will send out on Monday whatever skill calls we have for the next 2 weeks each week. We don't have a skills call next week, so enjoy your time. And Fran's team, we have a call tomorrow around planning, like I said, which I sent to all of you so we can talk about your people piece. Thanks, guys. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.
All right, bye.
Okay.